I'm here today with a 2012 Mercedes ML350, and the complaint with this is that the parking brake is inoperative. So from what I gather is that the owner of the car had an issue with the parking brake, and then he went to a shop and they diagnosed that the rear left brake was faulty. Apparently it had a crack, and then they gave him the part number and told him to buy one. So he bought the part, went back to the shop, they installed it, and then cleared the fault codes. But now, ever since, it's showing parking brake inoperative and they've not been able to get it to work. So that's what I'm here to do, help them get it to work. So I have confirmed that the part number installed was indeed the correct one, and looks like they installed the genuine Mercedes motor that's on the rear left. Okay, so in situations like this, for Mercedes, BMW, and all VAG cars, that's Volkswagen, Audi Group, I do not recommend you use aftermarket scan tools, with the exception of the VAG Group, and only use the aftermarket scan tools when it comes to viewing live data and a bit of coding. The reason is aftermarket scan tools do not provide even a quarter of the coverage that the factory scan tool provides. And I'm not kidding. So we're going to go into Sentry and then begin our diagnosis. Now, first thing you need is to log into WIS and get the data card for the car, which we have here, because we're going to need some information from this data card to plug into WIS. I think maybe the engine or the transmission code or both of them. So we have this, now we can proceed. So one of the things I'm always asked in the field is, how do you afford all the laptops for these different manufacturers? Well, I don't. I only have one laptop, and I have a virtual environment for the different manufacturers. If you do vehicles, you will know that these softwares for different manufacturers do not play well together. So you cannot install all these softwares on one Windows installation. You're going to have issues. So these ones that are unavailable here are on a different hard drive. We're going to boot into the Sentry operating system, and then we will continue. All right, here we are. We're going to start up Sentry Diagnostics. I'm using the Tactrix OpenPort 2.0. I'm going to select the Mercedes, and we're going to put our VIN here. Let me just quickly get it. And this is where you select your engine. It's already selected because there's only one. And then the transmission here, let's go to our data sheet. Our transmission is 722903. Go back to Sentry, 722903. We continue, and that is correct. We start Sentry Diagnostics. All right, we're ready here. This is our home screen. And if you've been watching my channel for some time, you know that I have a serious gripe with Mercedes WIS. That is the Workshop Information System. It's a terrible system. The data flow is terrible. Everything in there is hard to get. You actually will take more time sifting through that data normally than you would take on the actual diagnosis. But I must admit, in Sentry, they have streamlined stuff and they've put it nicely in one module. So If you can get this and use it, this will be your friend. So that here is our diagnosis tab, and if you see small f, that means just a stored fault code. A capital F is a current fault code that's active. And then if you see this light bulb here, usually accompanied with a capital F, it means you have a current fault code which is flagging the malfunction indicator. So let's come here and filter according to modules which have faults, and we're not interested in anything apart from the parking brake. N128 electric parking brake. Let's get inside here. So that gives you some safety information and important notes. Recommend connect a charger. I normally leave the engine running. So here we just have the version, software version number, and calibration information. And then here we have our error codes. This error code is control unit electric parking brake has a malfunction. The component has not been put into operation. Now, in WIS, you don't have any fault code designations and code setting criteria, but they've actually put these inside Sentry. Sometimes they've put the description and code setting criteria. Sometimes they've put the tests, and from the tests you can actually kind of infer what is going on. So if we come here and blow this up, it gives control unit specific environmental data when this code set, basically what you know as freeze frame. So you know that internal fault code 175. So this is high. This shows me that this fault code is a hard set code and it's been here for quite some time. Voltage circuit 30, that is permanent battery power. So we had our permanent battery power, and the status of the left and right parking brake, they're both open. So that tells me that currently the brake is not applied. So here we have some supplemental information which doesn't really help us, just that our total distance of the car is 206 160 kilometers. So this car has done quite some mileage. Okay, actual values, these are the live data. Actuations, you can actuate here different things that this module controls. And then that's the adaptation control unit log. Here it's to log in stuff for your factory. We don't need that. And then the list of fault codes, and this is what I like about this, is you have all the possible fault code lists here, and they will give you fault setting criteria, if any. This I like because sometimes in diagnosis we find that people have deleted fault codes, but they've taken a screenshot before they deleted. So you can just come here, for example, control unit has a malfunction, and you go in there and it will tell you either the function description or what to test. So well done, Mercedes. I can say that this is very good. Okay, so let's go back to our error code and we'll select this one, and we'll come down here to tests. It says here possible cause and remedy, commissioning and control unit N128 electric parking brake control unit has not yet been performed. Commissioning could only be partially performed. Important note, initial startup must be performed for control unit N128 electric parking brake control unit. So just from this, we are seeing that this is not a wiring issue. I'm not bringing out my scope. I'm not bringing out the wiring diagram. This looks like this unit just has not been calibrated, or initial start has not been performed. So it's more of an adaptation issue than anything. But in case it was wiring, what you would do is to come here, information, And you can see we have a handy dandy wiring diagram right here. Oh, I love this. This is what you'd spend a fortune of time getting, but it's now just here. Oh, can we give a round of applause to Mercedes? Thank you. This is what everyone should do. This makes my life easy. I don't need to look for anything. So here we see we have a terminal 30, two of them. We have 30L and 30R. Then we have terminal 31. This is a ground, two grounds. And then we have a terminal 15. Let me just do this so that I can read it clearly. The zoom and pinch functions are still broken, but I'm not complaining. This is such a long way they've come. Okay. And then, now sometimes it disappears like that. You just go back out and come back in, and you'll get back your diagram. It's kind of a bug. Okay, so you have your switch, and then you have your CAN lines, and then you have your motors. But as I said, we're not interested with anything here because our fault is pointing towards an adaptation issue. So let's go here to adaptations and control unit initial startup. It says here initial startup of already installed control unit. This is performed if a new control unit is installed. So the preconditions is the new control unit must be installed. Now we've not installed a new control unit. As I can see here, it'll do control unit programming and SCN coding. This control unit was not touched. We're not updating software either. Let's just do the teaching process, calibration. Okay. And requirement, the vehicle must be on a level surface and release the parking brake. Our parking brake is already released. Do you want to start the calibration? We'll say yes. And I had the motors go one way and then the other. Says here completed successfully. Now let's go back to our error codes and let's try and clear this fault. No fault code stored in memory. Excellent. So we come here and let's put off the car. Take the key out. And it says parking brake is in diagnostic rig test. So we need to exit Sentry. So let me come here and exit out of Sentry completely. And I've exited there. And here it still says parking brake inoperative. All right. So let me start the car again. And we're going to go back into that menu. And I want to see whether we still have the fault. And we still have the fault, current and stored. Now let's look at some actual values. We've got no power consumption. Status not actuated, standstill, open, ignition on. The VIN so got the actual VIN is here and the VIN stored in the control module is here. Yeah, this control module has not been changed. CAN output signals. Let's go to the switch and I want to see whether we can actuate it. So I am pulling the switch and pushing the switch. So that says closed, and I can hear the motors going. Open, closed, open. What's going on here? Because this system seems to be working. Go to the activation memory. Number of static activations 3. That's me right now. This is strange, but why did this module do this? I really have no idea. Let me try and see what else I can get in here, and then if I get some information, I will come back on. All right, we are in our EPC. Let's come here to group 54, electrical equipment and instruments. Then the subgroup, we come over here, control units, fuse boxes and relays in the interior. And let's go here to page 10. And this is our guy here, 500. Control unit complete, electronic parking brake N128. And look at our part number. The correct part number is supposed to be A16692700. We are done. This car has got the wrong parking brake control module. There's nothing we can do about that. This is not an electrical problem. This is a user installed problem. We have a problem in our industries. Respect your part numbers. This is a disease. I do not know why you pull out a module from a car and then you have the wisdom, or so you think, to install a different part number in there. Who told you to do that? Why do people do things like this? Look at this. Wasted money. Here I am getting a full diagnostic fee just to come here and tell you you've installed the wrong part number. We should do better than this, guys. We should really do better than this. So this car, the reason why the adaptations is not taking is because it just can't write to this module. It's not for this car. So right now we are done with this diagnosis. What I would recommend is we get the correct part number. Either we get the original module and put it back in this car, because I highly doubt that module was bad in the first place, or we get another control module and we need to do the online coding. And by the way, the online coding is not free. You will pay an amount to do the SCN coding online, because that's a totally different charge. It's going to be in a separate ticket that falls under repair. Now, just in case you're wondering, hey, how sure are you without even looking at that control module? That control module is under the back seat. I'm not going to pull the back seat, and I'll tell you why. I trust my data. I have manufacturer's information. That is what sets me apart from most other people. I don't guess. I use manufacturer's information, and I can prove it to you. Let's look at another item in this list, and then we'll go back to Sentry and we'll compare. So let's go back here. Let's look for something which is different. Let's go here to number 9, and let's go to the airbag over here, and you can see control unit complete airbag. Look at our part number, A1669002103. So let's go to Google and call up this image. That's our image. The part number is A1669002103. Now I want you to note the hardware part number and the software part number. So the hardware and software part numbers are usually slightly different. So now note this, okay? So I'm going to leave this open over here, and we're going to go back to Sentry. we're going to compare what we have here to now what we have in Sentry. So let's boot back to Sentry. We're back in Sentry. These are our control units. The airbag had an error, so let's filter and let's look for our supplementary restraint system, SRS N210. Let's open here. Now I need to look at this. Hardware 166-901-1200. Now remember, this is not the part number of the item. There's a hardware and software number. And you can see this thing has been updated how many times? 1, 2. Twice it has been updated. Let's go back to our image. What's our hardware part number? 166-901-1200. Correct. Now, let's come back here. Look at our software. We have 3 software numbers here, but one of them should match the one that came with the control module. Let's go back. What software came with this control module? Software 166-902-7501. Go back here, and here it is, and it's the first one, 166-902-7501. That is my proof to you guys that you can trust your manufacturer's data if you know how to use your manufacturer's data. Now, I know someone is still wondering, is this guy really going to charge a diagnostic fee? Yes, I am. What's diagnosis? Diagnosis is me coming to tell you what problem you have. I am not obligated to fix the car. I am obligated to tell you what problem you have. What problem does this car have? Parking brake inoperative. What problem do you have? You do not know why your parking brake is inoperative. What have I done? I have come and I've told you the control module you have in here will not allow you to do an adaptation because it is the wrong part number. What knowledge now do you have? You know why your parking brake is inoperative. Give me my check, boy. I'm done. With this 2012 Mercedes ML350. Now we know why it has an error. If we can get a fix, we'll come back. If not, until next time. And remember, guys, respect your part numbers. Don't just throw part numbers, random part numbers into a car. And you know why this was done? I'll tell you why it was done. Let's go to the images of the 2 modules in question. This is the module that is installed in this car. Okay? This is the module that belongs to this car. Okay? Why was this installed? Because the connectors match. This connector looks like this. This connector looks like this. The connectors are the same. So what do people assume? I have the same connector. The modules are interchangeable. Now you know that's not the case. All right, guys, we're done. Till next time.